Welcome, everyone. I'm Sue Barber, author, former IT director for a Fortune 500 company, turned executive coach, and this is the Visibility Factor podcast, where we explore how to raise your visibility and play bigger at work and in life. We'll explore key topics and welcome guests that help you shift your thinking about yourself so you can see new possibilities for your leadership. I'm on a mission to create a visibility movement for leaders to show their value and be seen for their true talent. Are you ready to take the next step towards a higher level of visibility for yourself? Let's go. The Visibility Factor podcast is brought to you in part by the 90-Day Visibility Breakthrough Accelerator Program. Do you believe deep down inside that you can have a bigger career, but you don't know how to get there? You can keep doing what you're doing, but what if there is a better way that could accelerate your progress? This 90-day program is a powerful experience that is unique to you and provides dedicated time to focus on your specific challenge. It gives you the time to develop big ideas and plans to execute them, including the tools, resources, and motivation needed for success. Hundreds of clients have used this same program to take them to the next level in their career and to create a better life. Join me in a 90-day experience that focuses on challenges like creating a strategic plan, how to lead an organizational change, or prepare for a career transition. This dedicated time will help you see new possibilities, recognize your strengths, and take away key insights that can be leveraged immediately. Are you ready to create a breakthrough for yourself? If you're interested in learning more, visit susanmbarber.com/visibility breakthrough accelerator for more information and to sign up for the program. I look forward to seeing you there. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. Today's podcast is going to focus on slowing down in order to speed up. Now, you might ask yourself, why on earth would I slow down when there is so much to do? It's natural to think that way, but you can be so much more productive, strategic, and even happier when you give yourself time to reflect and plan. Now, I'm sure you're also thinking, seriously? That doesn't even sound possible with the schedule that I have, both inside and outside of work. Well, you might be surprised to learn that slowing down has actually been proven to help you speed up. I will share some research on this later on in the podcast so you can hear what the results of some studies that have been done on this topic show. So let's talk about, what does it mean? What does slowing down to speed up actually mean? The phrase slow down to speed up says that the greatest approach to increasing productivity and efficiency is to choose to move at a steady pace rather than operating at top speed. Now think about that in conjunction with another well-known proverb regarding effectively finishing a variety of initiatives. And you might know this as, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I definitely heard this on a regular basis at work. In other words, when you prioritize speed and downplay taking breaks, you actually make it harder to finish the task at hand. That is why leaders need to slow down to speed up. Now, that definition comes from an article on opengrowth.com, so I'll attach that to the notes so you can check it out if you'd like. But let's go into an example. Think about the beginning of this year. Have you checked in to see your progress on maybe the goals that you might have created for yourself or some other things that you were hoping to do this year? How are they going? Are you creating the things in your work and your life that you want? There's still time to make that happen if you focus on it. When I think back to the beginning of this year, I had one major change that I wanted to create: time and space for me to slow down so I could focus on the priorities in my life and create new things in my business. The last few years have been so amazing. I have been incredibly blessed to work with so many great leaders. I've led workshops, launched the book and the podcast, been a guest on other people's podcasts, and spoken at companies big and small. Things that I couldn't have imagined doing 3 years ago. I've had a lot going on in my business, which is so exciting for me. I thought it was time to figure out, though, a way to do things differently this year so I could grow the business in the way that worked best for me. I wanted to make some changes so that my business would fit into my life and not the other way around. I had given everything to my work in my past life, and now I realized that I'd recreated that same experience in my business. I love what I do so much, and it makes me so happy, but I needed a bit more balance. I needed to adopt more boundaries and hold them. My goal was to take more time for me, my family, and to focus on what I wanted to create next in my business. I started to pay attention to what I said yes to and ways that I could focus on doing things that would have the biggest impact for leaders. I gave myself the gift of time, which I had never really done before. I enjoy what I do so much, so it feels a little uncomfortable for me not to do a million things. Little did I know how important this time would be. There were a lot of life changes that happened this summer in my family. One of my daughters moved out to start a new job in a different state. My husband had surgery, and one of my daughter's dogs pulled me down in our front yard and I broke my shoulder. As far as I know, there is no video of this event happening, thank goodness, and my shoulder is healing slowly. The reason that I'm sharing this with you is that life happens every single day. Situations that we can't control will happen, and there's always a list of priorities that we need to focus on. There are plenty of things to keep us busy. We tell ourselves that we don't have time to be sick, to take time to play with our kids, go to dinner with friends, or to travel, or a whole list of other things that we want to do but never spend the time to do them. There are so many priorities that all seem important. Taking care of ourselves needs to be on that priority list too. So do you feel that things are moving too fast in your life? It seems like the days run together for me sometimes, and I'm wondering what day it actually is. It made me think of the quote from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, Ferris was someone who wanted to take the day off of school and spend time with his friends and do what he wanted to do, and created an elaborate story around those things and made that day very interesting for everyone that encountered Ferris. He has a quote in the movie that says, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." Now, you may not be able to call in sick from work or school like Ferris did, but what if you just took an hour or so out of your week to reflect? As an example, if we go back to your goals for the year, what have you accomplished so far? What hasn't been accomplished yet? What is holding you back from getting them done? And what have you learned? Give yourself the gift of time to spend on this review and make adjustments where needed. This time that you take can be focused on your career, but I'd also like you to think about your life. What goals do you have for your life? You want to ensure that you're heading in the right direction, and in order to do that, you have to take a small break to assess progress. Even if you only start with an hour of your time each week, it can make a huge difference. You can ask yourself some key questions and use this time to make some plans. Here are a few suggestions. Are you happy at your job? Are you getting what you want out of life? Are you focused on the right priorities? What would you regret if you didn't do it? What if you planned a weekend away or even took the time to go on a hike or to a movie? Do something that brings you joy, and it can help you have a new perspective. There is no time to think when everything happens so quickly in life. You have to intentionally create space. Now, although it wasn't ideal to have a broken shoulder, it is a reminder to me that I was probably still doing too much. I had to ask for help from my friends and family, and literally at times do absolutely nothing. That is not an easy thing for me to do, but it was the right thing for me to do in order to heal faster. Continuing to try to do it all wasn't going to work this time. This situation forced me to create the space that I wanted, but it just didn't happen in the way that I thought it would. I remember when I was learning how to be a coach, I wanted to learn everything so quickly. My coach encouraged me to slow down so I could speed up. I couldn't even process what that would mean for me at that point. I had been going at such a fast pace throughout my career and didn't know how to do anything different. There was too much to do in my business and with my clients. I didn't feel like I had the time to get it all done. If I slowed down, then I would fall behind even further. I definitely had resistance to slowing down, but now I can see how right she was. It was a better approach to slow down in order to speed up. What I came to realize is that slowing down is what I needed to do to prepare for what was ahead. And this is especially true as any leader. Taking the time to reflect, be strategic, plan, create new ideas or processes, think about how your team is progressing and where you can support them will help you move faster. I think back to some of the massive changes that my company went through and many people I work with who are experiencing similar challenges. I have been there. It's stressful, overwhelming, and difficult to manage. My favorite saying back then was, "I feel like I'm on a merry-go-round and I cannot get off." The truth is that my head was spinning with all the things that I needed to get done, not on an actual amusement park ride. There were so many things that all seemed to be a top priority, and it felt overwhelming. I would literally stop and write down everything that I could think of that was in my head just to get it out of my head. Then I picked one of those things just to move forward on something. It stopped the spin in my head and allowed me to take action. Once I learned about slowing down, I realized that I had a choice to change the way that I thought about things and dealt with the chaos around me. I learned the importance of spending a small amount of time each day to simply focus on what was happening and think about what I could do to improve it. I would either think about it in the morning when I got up, when I first got to the office, or at night to prepare for the next day. Some days, when things were really crazy, I would even sit for 5 minutes at home before I went into the office just to clear my head. I gave myself 5 minutes to just be and not think about all of the things on my to-do list. I noticed that I was getting new ideas without even trying after doing that. I would sit in meetings and new ideas would pop into my head. The only change I had made at that point was implementing this new 5-minute process I took each morning. Can you see the benefit of taking that small amount of time just for you to think? You may come up with a small idea or some action to take if you just think about your own situation. When you are in spin mode in your head, nothing new or creative has the ability to show up. Slowing down gives you the ability to let your brain help you come up with ideas and actions so you can move forward faster. Now, there was a study that I mentioned earlier that I want to talk about in a second, but there's also an article from McKinsey, a consulting company that does a lot of work around teams and organizational performance. And they wrote in their article, however, in working with teams, we conclude that just speeding up isn't the answer. It often makes things more complex, consumes more energy, and in the best case, solves only a part of the challenge. In fact, we find that if these teams slow down, they eventually go deeper and faster into achieving their objectives. They deal more effectively with increased complexity and challenges, and they use less energy. There's been more and more studies about this because I think, if you think about corporate America, everybody is constantly talking about how busy they are and I have so much to do. But is it really getting done? Are you really doing it in the most effective way? I've always encouraged leaders to find the time to slow down for planning and thinking strategically. I used to tell them to try to take half of their time to do that. I know that's probably not realistic, but it makes them think about it a little bit more. It makes them think about, how could I find time to even get to 20%? Even 10% for some people would be a great step in the right direction. One of my former managers said to me when I took over the group from her that if I'm not thinking about my team and planning for the future and my department and defining where it's going, no one else is either. You will do yourself, your team, and your organization a disservice if you don't slow down and spend the time to make sure that you're heading in the right direction. You are the one who is setting the vision and direction for your team to follow. And if there are changes that need to be made, then you can make them. It allows you to iterate and make decisions faster so you can speed up. Now, here's the study that I thought was really interesting that Harvard Business Review did around organizations and this topic around slowing down to speed up. Organizations fearful of losing their competitive advantage spend much time and many resources looking for ways to pick up the pace. Paradoxically, they should try slowing down instead. In our study of 343 businesses conducted with the Economist Intelligence Unit, the companies that embraced initiatives and chose to go to try to gain an edge ended up with lower sales and operating profits than those that paused at key moments to make sure they were on the right track. What's more, the firms that slowed down to speed up improved their top and bottom lines, averaging 40% higher sales and 52% higher operating profits over a 3-year period. So there are studies that are looking at this and really finding that it's the way to go. It's a much more profitable way to do things and to use your resources in the best way. This research confirms that the more you do that, the better your results will be. Everyone should be able to find at least 1 hour in a week to do this. Look at all the meetings that you're in today that you probably don't need to be in or that you could send someone else to instead and spend that time focused on what you need to be doing as a leader for your team and for your organization. Being strategic is an expectation that your management has of you. And if you're not doing it, they may feel like they have to step in and do it for you, which is not going to be a good thing for you. You can also do this with a group of people that you trust and spend the time brainstorming ideas if you feel like it's something that you need support on because you haven't done it enough yet. Some amazing ideas might come out of conversations like that. And you can also see what other people are doing that you might be able to fast adapt for yourself. So let's talk about today's visibility action. Create a simple list of 3 to 5 things. These could be goals, either work or personal, in a notebook, a Post-it note, or on your phone in an app that you use that you can check in on each week. Don't overthink it. Just identify them and know that if you want to, you can change them later. But I want you to write down one action for each of those goals that you will do during the week. When you go back to review the following week, it should be really easy. Did you do it or not? If you did it, check it off. That's great. Then create the next action to do and add it to your note. If you didn't do it, identify what prevented it. What will you do next to remove that obstacle and accomplish it? It's the only way you can start to move forward on things is to check in and double check that you've thought of everything, that you've removed all issues, and you can actually accomplish the goal. The intent with this is that you slow down and reflect on where you are by doing this each week, which helps you to make progress towards something bigger that you want. Think of it as a way to get an hour of peace and quiet each week that helps you measure your direction in life. It is really easy to do the same things every day and wake up 30 years later wondering what you did with all the time you had. Don't let that happen to you. Be intentional with the time you have. Ensure that you are spending it on the things that matter to you and make you happy. All of the things that we talked about today are going to be recognized and viewed by your management. They're going to see that you're thinking about things in the bigger way, that you're being visible, that you're being strategic, and you're leading yourself and your team so that the organization can benefit from that. I just wanted to thank everybody really quickly for all of the support of the Visibility Factor podcast. We just recorded our 75th episode that came out, and I'm really just so excited and so amazed at how quickly the time went to get to that point. I wanted to thank all the listeners for all of the time and effort and support for this podcast. It's been a joy, and I've met so many amazing people throughout the podcast interviews, and my team at Sheep Jam has been tremendous, and I just wanted to look forward to the next 75 and even more. I'm really excited to see what we're going to do next on the podcast. And thank you so much for your support. And I really am excited just to see how far we can take this. So thanks so much for your support. Thanks for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Visibility Factor podcast. Remember that visibility starts with small steps that are intentional and consistent each day. Be bold, be visible, be the leader you were meant to be. Find us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, which are highlighted in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Visibility Factor podcast.